Hey, good morning, everybody. We're going to have a wonderful show. We're going to talk about more no sugar, some things about fasting, and a lot of other topics today. So get ready for an awesome show. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn. Welcome to this morning's A Different Perspective. I am always so excited that you guys are here with me today. And the date is January 14th. We are halfway between our no sugar challenge. It's kind of nice to see all the things that have been going on with everything that today. But before we get started even on that, just want to say good morning to everybody. Hope you guys had an absolutely fantastic week. It's been an incredible week here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and seasonally a little bit warmer, which is kind of nice. Usually it's well below zero and darn, it's still cold. Don't wrong. All you have to do is go outside and you are definitely chilled off, but it's kind of nice that, you know, my eyelashes are not frozen by walking out from just the cold weather that we do have. So hope you guys had a wonderful week from all over. I know that we have people watching from all over the world right now. I want to thank you guys that I just happened to meet with our media team last week looking at stats and the different countries and things like that they're on. It's been quite amazing watching our show spread all over in the different countries that watch us. And the request, thank you. Travis and I working this morning. We had multiple people requesting podcast interviews from everywhere from Australia to India to Pakistan to, oh my God, I think one was in Russia. And we're still doing stuff even locally like crazy. But it's kind of neat that our message happens to appeal to you guys all over the world. And if you guys do want me on your podcast, I love doing them. It's kind of nice. I think that's why I don't do a podcast myself. But don't worry, we do have some of our doctors that are going to be starting a Wellness Way podcast. I just am not a podcast person. I'm not. Because you know what you just do during podcasts? You just talk and kind of tell some stories. I'm more of a teacher. I like to kind of sit down and put up slides and go over stuff and teach you great detail things. That's just my thing. I like doing that. That's why we have a show that kind of goes over a lot of clinical things. Which reminds me, people say, you know, Doc, why do you do a show? Well, it's kind of nice. A show is meant to give some broad detail of some of the things that we are doing every day in a clinic. I can honestly tell you, I actually saw a patient today, or excuse me, it's gonna be Monday, but don't wrong, guys. I get this all the time. I'm literally messaging a woman right now on Instagram, and her name is Kelly. I will keep her last name private, but she just said to me, she's like right here, she's like, I'm dealing with gut issues for years, you know, endosurgery, partial hysterectomy because of different things, C-sections the past year, found out I had parasites and different things. It's been a lot on her health journey, it really has. And now she's just reaching out because she lives in the Arizona area. And like I said, once again, we will have an Arizona office in Phoenix very quickly. But it's kind of nice. This is the things that we have to remember is the show is nothing more than bringing some information to you guys that people are reaching out all over the world. But really, guys, we're just a bunch of docs doing great things in clinics every single day. We have wonderful practitioners from our academy. We have medical people that converted and started, you know, as the medical field said, they came to the dark side on our side. But we could say that either way. But the idea is this, they started to practice like we did. And perfect example is our wonderful nurse practitioner, Nicole, who you've seen on the show here. We have other medical people that were nurses and doctors and even pharmacists and things like that. And they end up joining our team to deliver this kind of care. So the show just gives me an opportunity. The show was actually started by Brandon. He's like, hey, listen, let's put some stuff out there. Next thing you know, I was just going to put a tip out there every single Saturday, end up turning into a different perspective show. Now, a couple other things that I want to announce is, as you guys know, I have done a hormone seminar for about 5 years or so, I think it was. And I had the opportunity to travel all over the world, spoke to hundreds of thousands of people through that time. It's beautiful. It was called the Hormone Connection. And I retired that seminar June 10th last year. But just as I got kicked off of Facebook and I'm back on, I got kicked off YouTube, I'm back on. Guess what happened, guys? We will be announcing some dates coming up here in the spring where I'm going to do not the Hormone Connection seminar. Yes, I know a lot of people say, Doc, I can't believe that you're burying that material. Wasn't really burying it. I knew eventually that, was that even Garth Brooks came out of retirement. You know what I'm saying? He went away for a little bit, but he came back and filled stadiums. It was kind of great. But I'm going to change the seminar. It will still have our great hormonal material in it, but I'm going to change the seminar. And I haven't decided yet, but the I Disagree book has become and still is an international bestseller. We sell a ton of them every single month. That is basically a life story with some other factors in there when it comes to even immune stuff, hormonal stuff. And I might start doing, I'm going to start doing a seminar. I haven't decided what it's going to be, but to travel a little bit and speak because there's been high demand on that. So, let a couple cats out of the bag that way. But remember, you can always find us as I do every single week. I love our investigative journalists that we do have. And I said I'd pop it up right here. Go to our website. You can find our newsletter. Scroll down all the way to the bottom, put in your email address, and you're going to see that you'll get updates on everything we're doing, the constant newsletter. Everything about it's fantastic. Don't want to miss it. We have so many great articles and so many wonderful investigative journalists that work here, and we're adding another person on. Which reminds me, I gotta say this. Don't forget to look at the website because we are having a huge hiring push coming up here. It's kind of great. We are expanding even more. Our new facility actually expanded, so we are having more people that if you are looking for a job. Once again, it's got to be local on this one though, because there's some things that we need here that you get to sit and hang out with me most of the days. Well, actually, I'm in meetings a lot all day, so you'll be a part of the team. Let's put it that way. So definitely go to our website, thewellnessway.com, and look at all the job postings because we just are doing we're going to hire a significant amount of people here coming up. So please check that out. And speaking of websites, one of the greatest things about our website is that little Find a Clinic button up to the right. So amazing people practicing all over. It's updated every single month because there's more offices that is popping up, just like I talked about. We are going to have a Phoenix office popping up there pretty quickly with Dr. Jenny. She's going to be out there. But there said, you can check out all the offices that we do have, just like this wonderful woman was texting me, if we don't have a clinic in your area, this is very common. I can honestly tell you in the last probably half of my career when I was full-time practice, half my day was on the phone because you can do phone consults with people. We can get labs done anywhere. We can ship things out if we need you to take something. They can be done anywhere. So if you need a doc, need a practitioner, you can call the office that maybe is the locals to you that way, even if it's in a different state, even if it's 5 hours away, and the doc can definitely do a phone consult with you. All right. Oh, Travis, I don't have my remote. I'm like, I don't have my remote for a couple slides here. So we are 14 days into no sugar. Brandon and I are into, thank you, Travis. You just hand it right here. There you go. Thank you, Travis. Appreciate that. As we can see here, if we get it, there we go. We are 14 days into no sugar. We are doing a whole month of January, no sugar challenge. Now, once again, to kind of go over it, it's nothing special. And what I mean by that is it doesn't mean it's not having a big impact. I mean, people are like, Doc, is there a cost to the program? There's no program. Here's what we all decided to do. We decided to say, okay, listen, here's a group of foods that have very highly readily available glucose. And we want to keep that down in our system for the course of January. That's it. There's no fee, there's no nothing. You are just joining all of us as we are all suffering together. Now, Brandon and I decided to do something that we did last January. We decided to fast a little bit more than we did this past year. So we started, he started actually last Thursday, I started last Friday. I'm going till 2 weeks today. I still have 2 weeks left. Yes, so I've been fasting for 8 days. I've had some Zevia, I've had some coffee, I've had some water, and it's been tough. It's been hard. But I want to tell you something. Pick your heart. Everything, guys, anything, well, just life in general, doesn't matter if you're a man, doesn't matter woman, guess what? Life is hard. There's things that come up every single day that people have to deal with that are very difficult situations. And some have more difficult situations than others. I can honestly tell you, I may have less difficult situations than others, but I still have hard things. And I've always chosen to do the hard things. Why? Because pick your heart. Is this fasting easy? Absolutely not. Extremely hard. Extremely hard. And I still have 2 more weeks. Extremely hard. Now, what's the purpose of it for a male? It's different than a female body. So therefore, there are massive benefits as a male doing it. We did it last year. It was fantastic. We're going to continue to do this year. So, and then Travis and I said, okay, what are we doing at the end? We're going to eat some liverwurst at the end of the show. I was getting at the beginning of the show, and all of a sudden people are like, what if you actually tummy a little bit rumbles and things like that? We'll eat some liverwurst at the end of the show to break the whole fast, and then we'll still continue with no sugar because that'll be January 28th. And I got to travel and speak down in Chippewa area. I think the night before, but I'm flying down and flying back that same night. But it's kind of nice. We're going to continue that fast. Pick the hard things that you do. It's a wonderful benefit. So as you are going through day 1 through 14 so far, and then we have the 17 days left, it's difficult. It is. But the one thing that I do like is the massive amount of benefits in emails, in Instagrams, in Facebooks I'm getting, talking about things. Now, the one thing that we were going to do today is we were going to talk about some more things when it came to fasting and weight loss, because we are on the weight loss process. Now, remember, as you are doing no sugar, remember, jump on Instagram. I go live every single day on Instagram. I will even pop on later today. I think we are live on Instagram right now, aren't we? Yeah, so we're live on Instagram right now. It's a huge audience that we do have. I seem to gain thousands and thousands of followers every single day because obviously we're putting out some good information. But the idea is this: I'll go live every day. Even today, I'm probably going to get on my Peloton bike and hit it hard during time. I'll probably fatigue out much quicker because I haven't had any food. But the idea is this: you still push and do the hard things. So remember, follow us each time. We're going to continue to do this journey together. It's just avoiding it. Now, why did I pick certain foods and why did I pick foods you could actually have? So if you haven't gotten the list, you can, type in, what do you got to type in the bottom? Join. That's right. If you're in Instagram, type join. You get an automatic message that gives you some PDFs and gives you the Facebook page that you can follow. Remember, you can also follow on our Wellness Way No Sugar Challenge page. Speaking of challenging, we love technology. And if you are in the local area, please come and hang out. We have a beautiful studio here. But our new studios are going to be within the next month ready to go. There's a whole there's a podcast studio where I do interviews. We have the big studio. It's going to be just a show and other things. We have a green room and everything. Then what happens is we have our teaching studio. It's kind of great. We are almost done. As I said, we had an expansion in our wonderful facility. That's why we're going to be hiring even more people. But comes with wonderful technology and all things, even though it has nothing to do with studio. I was going to go over today women in fasting and weight loss and how it pertains to their cycle and why I am not a fan of women fasting. But the reason why I wanted to do a whole show on it is because I wanted to get some intricate detail about what it is. Because last week, Miranda did a wonderful job, and she picked a clip of me talking about I am against women fasting. And nice thing, if you watch the show, you'll notice I'll get very intense and I'm very soft, okay? I'll get very hard and intense and I get very soft. Well, Miranda happened to pick out a clip where I was kind of hard, all right? Where I was being very direct. Now, why am I direct? Because just like this wonderful young lady that reached out and she's suffering, that's where all of my ideas and opinions come from. Now, let me say, why do I say opinions? You say, Doc, it's your opinion and stuff. Yeah, you know what? Let me teach you something. Let me teach you something right now. Let's say any condition that you have. You can go into any doctor of any degree. Any degree. I don't care if it's osteopath, medical doctor, chiropractor, podiatrist, heart specialist, brain specialist, everything. No matter what it is, they're going to sit down, they're going to evaluate stuff, and they're going to give you a fact. That's not true. It's not true. What do they give you? An opinion based on their biases. I have biases. Do you follow me? Let me give you an example of how we have biases. And then you live your life based on that truth. Let me give you an example. Now I will tell you my opinion. And it comes from my clinical experience, which is extensive. Okay, so let's do this. I have a bias. Let me explain my bias. I had a bias when I learned about vaccines in college. I learned about them like, doesn't make sense. But I read about them, I studied them, things didn't make sense. But I really got biased against them dramatically when I started to see the amount of damage coming in from them. Then I became even more biased when I started to test their immune responses, and that's how the immune panel got created. and started to go, oh my goodness, look what's happening to this immune response. Highly inflammatory, going to cause damage, going to cause a lot of disease. So I got even more biased. Then even this past week, Dr. Devin and I were working on communicating with a woman from California where a person got MMR shot. Guess what happened? Massive reaction. See, and then on top of it, we've done this before. I've actually had patients that would get a vaccine, and we do a pre-immune, post-immune panel on, do a post one, and it was highly inflammatory. See, so once again, so the truth that I will live by is seeing all the damage that comes from them. If you haven't had that perspective, guess what happens? And you're the average person, don't mean that in a negative way, that say you're an engineer and you have kids, and you know, as you've been trained to, go to a pediatrician, go to a doctor, they give you their biased opinion. Guess what happens? It's still an opinion, just like mine is. You get to choose it. It's why if you disagree with anybody's opinion, you can go get a what? They don't say second fact. They say second what? Opinion. See, so that's why when all of a sudden I put out an opinion when it came to fasting, man, some women lost their freaking minds across the country. You guys say that? They're wrong. I had people sharing that video. I had people doing YouTube videos and using my comments on there. And so I said, you know something? And I already planned on doing the show on fasting and women. But let me give you an example. And let me tell you what happened technology-wise. So I planned on, and I had a wonderful presentation and written out everything. And I work with our graphic artists and all the great things because I like teaching. I like you guys seeing graphics. I like teaching intricate detail that way. And all of a sudden, it was yesterday, our technical person, Eric, I'm like, Eric, we gotta take a look at my computer because it's an Apple. It's right here. This thing travels with me. This is my lifeline. And all of a sudden, the fan started coming on, started glitching a little bit. I'm like, we gotta try to download everything. We couldn't get anything to download. And then I started losing all my stuff. And even Travis today, after we're done here, we're gonna still try to get it because I got my lifeline on here. And I'm kind of sassy because even though I have technical people, I have studio people, I have a ton of people that know computers like crazy, I don't always back up my stuff. It's on the computer. So all of a sudden, I was like, oh my goodness, and I lost my whole thing for today. Now, don't get wrong, it's all up here. I'm gonna put it back together. I know my graphic artists are gonna have the slides that we created and everything. I just couldn't put together fast enough to get a wonderful presentation every night. So we're gonna move that presentation till next week. So let me say again, we're gonna cover fasting, and we're gonna cover weight loss, and we're gonna cover why I do not like it. But let me explain why I don't like it, and let me give you my clinical experience so I can even prep you guys for next week. All right, so for example, I had this dialogue with a woman on Instagram, and she was fantastic. Darn, she at first sent me a grr kind of message. I'm like, cool. I'm cool with your ideas. I always tell people, I welcome anybody. I welcome the most pro-vaccine scientist, teacher, person, everything that way that has their biases. And I welcome to come sit right here and let's have a great discussion. I'll share my ideas. You share your ideas. Because here's what happens. Do you know something? If you're extremely pro-vaccine, we're just going to use that example because it's an emotional topic, just like an emotional topic of fasting and over-exercising, because I guarantee the CrossFit community just lost their crap when I said you over-CrossFitters. But let's talk about vaccine and we'll get into the point of the fasting. So because I have a different perspective on this, because of my own clinical experience, that has been extensive. So I had this woman reach out to me and she said, well, this, and I'm healthy and this, and I got this. I'm like, okay. And I asked one simple question to her. And here's what I want you guys to do. So I know you guys tuned in this, so I want to set you guys up for next week. All right, couple questions for her. So this person that would, let's say, be massively pro-vaccine. What's going on again? I'm cool. Now remember this, I'm cool with your ideas. I'm cool with your very pro-vaccine. Here's the only part where I will differ, and then I'll become hard, and then I'm going to take anybody on with this way. If you believe that your ideas should be forced on somebody else. That's it. You understand? That's like, I will give somebody a platform, because we reach millions of people, to say, listen, you can actually vividly disagree with me. Share your ideas, I'll share mine, and then we'll just let the public decide. That's actually journalism, that's TV, that's great, it's actually great conversation, great debate. That's how people figure out. So I did this one time, and to give you an example. So let's say, you know, all of a sudden, people come along and say, well, vaccines, that's it. I have just one question, you know, and I want you to investigate this. And I know you're gonna come to the same conclusion as me, but let's do this. So let's say a person tell me about vaccines, I don't care what condition or things that was that way. I would ask one question, and it always wipes out their argument to stimulate a different thought. Because I've done this to people. I've debated people on the vaccine issue. And I ask them, and here's the question. When you take the vaccine, does it make you healthy? Because if you go into a pediatrician, your goal that you think you're going there for is to raise a healthy child. Well, I got a question for you. The things that the pediatrician does with you, does it contribute to your child being healthy? That's it. Answer me that question. And you're like, no, it prevents infection. Well, that's not really true. We've seen that over the last 3 years. We've seen it in other things. But on top of it, even this, even if it prevented infection, does it actually make you healthy? Because you're going to find out the only way that their thing works is by causing a problem. And the result is highly inflammatory things, a lot of our conditions can lead to other diseases. So I just can't live or raise my children in that perspective. So here's what happens. And they try to always, you know, equate things very differently than I do. And I'm like, good. I'm like, well, you can keep your ideas. I'll keep mine. We'll move forward and see who lives a healthier, more vibrant life. You know, that's why I kind of giggle when, people have sick and suffering kids and they want to argue with me. I'm like, do you see my 4 daughters? Do you see them? Do you want to compare? You know, it's like a doctor that smokes and drinks and 300 pounds and he wants to talk to you about health. It's like, really? Are we going to have that debate? Okay. Now, so let's do this. So I'm going to give you guys a little idea to next week for all you women that are over fitness and over fasting and things. Now, first of all, I'm going to set the stage by understanding fasting. Because just because you skip breakfast or skip lunch or skip supper, or you go within a small window of time of eating per day, you're not fasting. By definition, you're not even fasting. So we gotta define that. Because, you know, someone says, well, Doc, you know, I skip breakfast every morning and it's wonderful for me. I'm like, cool. You just reduce your calorie intake, which I'm a fan of. I am a fan of. But the idea is this. It doesn't mean you're fasting. You're timed eating. And so we're going to define those terms because it's really important. Second of all, let me give you a very good clinical thing. So this one woman, you know, she sent me a great message. And once again, she's like, I vehemently disagree with you. I'm extremely healthy. My hormones are great. Da, 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 da. So I just started to ask some questions. I said, you know, first of all, what do you define as health? And of course, she couldn't answer. So I want you to think about this. Everyone you guys accomplish, and even watching this show, there's one thing you want to accomplish, is to be healthy. But all the fitness people, all the people that, you know, think about fasting, you know, if you think about why they're doing it, they think they're accomplishing health, but let's get into it. So all of a sudden, I said to her, okay, listen, since you can't define health, let's look at some other things. The reason why I threw out the challenge, which once again, guys, no joke. We took about 40 people and we are going to test their hormones. And now, once again, here's one thing. I had a woman send me a message because a wonderful, nice woman, MD from Chicago, because she shared the thing with a fitness person that, you know, once again, I'm excited to have a conversation. She's going to find out we have more in common than we do apart. But it's quite simple. I asked this woman quite simply, and this one that was messaging me. I said to her, well, let's go here. Let's start here. I said, as a man, once again, if I were to just look at the clip when I talked about it affects your hormones dramatically when you fast too much and when you exercise too much. So she's like, well, I'm very healthy and I'm very fit. I'm like, okay, tell me what health is. She couldn't. I said, then let's go here. So let's start just even on the argument of your hormones. And let's start with me. As a male, here's what happens. Now I want you guys to do me interact, especially if you're on Instagram. So EB and Ryan and Dr. Lucas, let's see if we can get this done. If you look at this, and I know it's a simple answer, but hang in there with me. If you look at males and females, we are dominated by specific hormones. I'm dominated by what? Testosterone. Now I want you to think about that. Every male, if you look at the male physiology, they're going to be dominated by testosterone. It's a very anabolic. It's repair. It's energy. It dictates a lot of things of our life. So, ladies, I want you to picture this. I want you to picture what the major hormone, now once again, that's more than testosterone for us. We all have the same hormones. But we do have higher levels of certain dominant hormones that develop our characteristics, both sexual and mental. For example, testosterone is a very aggressive hormone. That's why males by nature are much more aggressive than women. But what is that hormone that makes a woman who they really are? Dr. Lucas and Dr. Ryan, Dr. Eby, let's see if they start posting that on Instagram or even in the Wellness Way chat, because a lot of you guys are watching on the Wellness Way platform. Anybody, I know we're delayed by like 15 seconds across the world, but so I'll take a little sip of my Zevia to get that going. Do we have, or here what happens, guys, always remember this. I'm on my email right now. You can email me at pflynn, so Patrick Flynn, pflynn at thewellnessway.com. And I'm going to have your questions and stuff right here. But do me a favor, anybody post yet? Okay, good. What did they say there, Dr. Ryan?
Whole bunch of estrogen and progesterone.
That's right. And believe it or not, progesterone is a significant hormone for a woman, but it doesn't develop their sexual characteristics. It doesn't develop some of their mental characteristics. It's, believe it or not, it's estrogens. So therefore, I even said this woman, I said, and I said estrogen. And I said, do me a favor. And I said, can you do me a favor? Do you have your lab work of your estrogens? And she's like, yes. And I said, okay, let me see it. All right. And she sent me a normal estradiol. I'm like, oh, the debate is over. Because I'm like, where are the rest of your estrogens? And her response was, what do you mean? My doctor said my hormones are normal. And I'm like, of course they say they're normal. Okay? Because their testing is dramatically incomplete. Dramatically. Now, let me give you an example, and I will set you guys up for next week, and then we're going to tell you what we're going to do for the rest of the show. See, this is where everybody gets it wrong. Everybody gets it wrong. See, what they'll do for a woman when it comes to blood work, they measure the progesterone, maybe pregnenolone, maybe DHEA, maybe testosterone, maybe estradiol, maybe estrone. If they're lucky, estriol, which is really a metabolite, so it's not really accurate in the blood, which I just gave you the answer. See, their testing is very incomplete. When we do a male testing, we can basically, for our dominant hormone, test testosterone, free testosterone in the blood. And we can also get levels in the urine. But I want you to think about this. When it comes to the other estrogens and some of the most important ones, do you understand that a 2 and a 4 and a 16 based estrogens on estradiol, estrone, sometimes, especially for breast health, are more important to determine if you're going to get breast cancer than estradiol. So I asked the women, I said, can you show me all the rest of those estrogens? And it's crickets. I said, so then you're making an evaluation of your health and your hormones with an incomplete view, and you want to argue with me about it. I'm like, the debate is over. So, because here's what happens. And here's the big kicker. Here is why I don't like six packs in women. Now, you can produce DHEA, DHT, testosterone, estradiol, estrone. You can produce those just by hormones coming from the brain down to the ovary, and you can produce them significantly. You can. And you can run your blood work and you can have a six pack and go, look at all of this. I have perfect hormones. I'm like, and I'm sitting there giggling and going, because all you did is measure hormones that were produced. But ladies, I'm going to give you a little homework. That's not, and sometimes those hormones are not as significant to breast and uterine and other just normal health, but also condition development, than the hormone metabolites, your other forms of hormones that have to go to your liver, have to go to your fat tissue to convert. Do you see what I said that way? Do you understand, ladies? You are dependent on fat tissue to make, not to produce, to make the conversions over to other hormones to protect you. That's why God gave you some fat tissue. See, as a man, we could be chiseled head to toe. We could. And even if we do have some conversions of like maybe 3% of our testosterone, 3% loss, I'm at 851. I'm fasting right now and doing things, and I'm going to hit my exercise even harder today to try to drive it over 1,000. For what purposes? I just want to accomplish it. But even cardiovascular, which I don't have any problems, but here's the point. Ladies, some of the most important hormones you have are even called metabolites. Estriol, let me spell it for you, E-S-T-R-I-O-L, which is known as E3 in the hormone world, if you know anything about it. It's the weakest form of estrogen. It's not even really that accurate in the blood, but it's the most significant hormone to make it weak so it can be metabolized out. But it has to be metabolized. And that's why without proper testing of those hormones, you don't know where you're at. And the majority of those are converted in the liver, in the adipose tissue, in the fat tissue, both brown and other fat. So that's why I kind of giggle when I see a ripped person and they measure a couple hormones, say, look at doc, I disagree with you, I challenge. Cool, let me see the rest of your labs. And they're like, and you hear crickets. And then, so let me give you an example. How I give you that opinion. And I will, and I can honestly tell you, yesterday I probably looked at 30 plus different hormone labs of both blood and urine and even some saliva. But I can give you one right here. I can give you just one right here of a woman who has breast cancer. Just covering this up for purposes of if the name pops up. Breast cancer, they're giving her an aromatase inhibitor and they dramatically reduced her estrogens. Dramatically. And in the medical world, and even in the natural world, they'll be like, oh, look at, you have less chance. But it's really funny. Here's one thing that is the most significant, ladies, and I want you to look this up. I want you to look up, type this into any search engine, 4-hydroxy estradiol and estrone. So there's two hormones, especially 4-hydroxy. Do you understand? It's known as one of the most damaging hormones if it gets elevated to the DNA, which can lead to breast cancers and other estrogen-dominant conditions. But you know something of this? All the women that challenged me or actually threw a fit or put my thing up like this and TikTok and was like, and all their attitude, guess what happens? I welcome your attitude. I really do, because I'm going to challenge your thinking going, can you show me your 4-hydroxy estradiol and estrone? And most of them didn't even know that hormone existed. Didn't exist. I've seen it hundreds of thousands of times. I've personally looked at over 100,000 labs myself. We have millions and millions and millions of labs with all of our doctors from all over the world. See, that's why when we sit there and go, okay, listen, you want to have the argument, that hormone is produced after there's a conversion in the liver and also in the adipose tissue. So get this, it's quite funny. So they gave the drug, and if you look at our lab, every one of them were extremely low, except for that one. So the medication itself couldn't even lower that one. So her chance of reoccurring with breast cancer, regardless if she's on medication or not, is highly probable because she's lacking certain enzymes to convert that out to more of a safer venue or get it down to a level that is normal to where it can do its job. Because you don't want that too low, because then you can't maintain bone, brain, other sex characteristics if it's too low. See, so an argument on somebody tell me that just because they've had a couple levels measured, that their hormones are normal and they're a fitness expert. You know some of this? I can honestly tell you, and I'll make it very clear. I have never, ever, ever, ever seen a woman that has had a six-pack and ever have sufficient hormones. It's my clinical experience. Can't take it away from me. So I'm sharing my opinion based on that. So do I have a bias against it? Absolutely I do, because I see the destruction that happens in their hormonal health. Now, another question that I asked a couple of the women that challenged me on it, I said, can you tell me honestly, and remember, I'm not trying to prove you wrong, I'm trying to make you healthy. Why am I debating them? Why am I trying to get them, all riled up? I hope that they're riled up, because the only way you change your ideas is by pain. I will put in the context of a vaccine. Mothers reach out to me all the time saying, man, most people that grow up in the basic system think vaccines are good. But then what happens is there's no such thing as an anti-vaxxer, which I don't even think that's even a bad thing anyways. I'm anti-abuse. I'm anti a lot of things that are bad. And here, I want you to think about this, is when these things come up, mom really isn't an anti-vaxxer that speaks out against it. She used to be a pro-vaxxer, and now she's anti because she actually has anti-experience because something bad happened to her. A lot of pain happened to her child or something suffering, and they dealt with all the issues of it. See, pain is by far one of the only way that we change our biases or change our ideas. So that's why I threw a challenge out there. That's why I got hard about it. I get hard about it because I get frustrated when people give ideas that could be detrimental. Now, they're wrong. I have no problem. Share your ideas. Show your six-pack. Put your TikTok up or your Instagram pointing like I'm wrong. Great. Let me see all your labs. I don't have them. Okay. Then here's what happens. Then button your lip a little bit, learn something, and then get them done. And then we can have a discussion about it. See, that's the thing. So I'm speaking from clinical experience. You're speaking from emotional things because you got a six-pack and you think, oh my goodness, I'm healthy. But I meant to continue my point before. I posed a question on Instagram the other day, which kind of blew people's minds away, but I want you to think about this. I have 19, 16, 13, and 9-year-old daughters. I can honestly tell you, my daughters, once again, they are athletes, and they're darn good athletes. I want you to think about this. If you have a 13 and 16-year-old daughter, which, once again, my 13-year-old is not cycling, but my 13 or 16-year-old is. If all of a sudden Trinity decides to do certain athletics, especially a little high endurance stuff, she plays volleyball, she does golf, but let's say she became a runner or a swimmer, something that takes a little bit more intensity that way, and all of a sudden she starts skipping her period but presents with no condition. Because I had a woman last night say to me, I'm a top level athlete and I have no hormonal problems. And I'm like, do you skip your cycle? Be honest with me. And she says yes. So I pose this question. If you're 13, 14, 15, 6-year-old, or even if you're 35, and you are skipping and delaying cycles, which is a normal God-given process that ladies are supposed to happen to you every single month, do you consider that a healthy response? And there was no response. I said, from that woman, I said, see, I said, you're equating that you are fit. You're equating that you don't present with any pathology yet. Because if those hormones go low, not only are you going to lose certain characteristics from a female standpoint, you are also going to end up with some condition that's going to hit you, because your condition doesn't happen overnight just because your hormone went low. It starts to develop. Do you understand? Nicole, our nurse practitioner, will tell you, which is well documented, sometimes it takes 10 years from cancer start to it be showed. 10 years. See, so I want you to think about those kind of concepts that way. So I'm going to show you next week as I walk through a bunch of these, and I'll reiterate some of the things I talked about today, but I'm going to show you that as you go through a woman's cycle, guess what happens? This is why cyclic women have to be very careful when they exercise, what they eat, how much they eat, because their hormones change 4 times in the month. Doc, so you're telling me that when you work with women, you'll tell them what to do week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4? Absolutely. I put that into practice over 20 years ago before anybody did it. I put out charts. Now, Durung, for all you CrossFitting women, I'm a fan of you doing it during certain times. During certain times. Remember that. Not every day. If you do it every day, it's going to be a bad day for you. But there are certain times you can do it during the week. There are certain times you can do it during the month. And that's when I lay out that chart dividing the cycle into 4 different weeks. So all that came from my clinical experience of doing it, having a different perspective, looking at labs very differently, even than other doctors. But then as I start to explain this, because remember guys, my degree besides my undergraduate degrees and my postgraduate degrees, being a chiropractor gave me great insight on a lot of things. And medical people, natural people, and everything ask me to speak at their things all the time because it's physiologically, biochemically, and immunologically sound. So I'll go into great detail about that next week, and that's why I can show even women that do the things that are wrong, they can even gain weight or not even lose weight, even if they, quote, do the right things. All right, so what we're gonna do on the rest of the time is, I didn't realize it was gonna get this long. Some people have some questions, so we're gonna do just a short question and answer so if you guys on Instagram, pop some questions. I have my email up right here. We're only gonna take a handful of questions because I didn't realize it was gonna go 40 minutes explaining that, Travis. Man, then next week's show is probably gonna go for hours. But let's do this. We're gonna go through questionnaires. We'll go back from Dr. Lucas and one of our newest interns, Dr. Ryan. We got Dr. Eby here, one of our new interns. But we're gonna go back and forth for a couple questions that way and fill up the rest of our time. Now, if you do have a question, like I said, I am on my email right now, pflynn@thewellnessway.com. Post it in the comments. Eby's watching Instagram. They're also watching on thewellnessway.com, the ADP site that way. So Dr. Lucas, Dr. Eby, Dr. Ryan, what are we going to start with?
I can take it. So I actually got an interesting question here.
Okay.
Would love if you could give an example of how a fit, healthy woman should look. Actress maybe. So we can get a better understanding. I am 44, have a six-pack with high metabolism.
Yep.
I know my hormones are off, but have a hard time making change.
Okay. All right. What's the lady's first name?
Kimberly.
Kimberly. Thank you. Thank you, Hun, so much for that question. I'm going to get my trouble by saying this, but I get in trouble a lot anyways. Women are supposed to have curves, not rolls. Let me say it again. I know everybody started laughing. I actually want to do a reel just on that, and I know, because for example, I'm sorry if I seem offensive on this, but we have to have some honest conversations because of what obesity does. And I know in our woke culture today, people like, I don't even know the person's name, she might be a wonderful individual, but sorry, Lizzo, you're not sexy and you're not healthy, all right? Because rolls are not healthy. Curves are. For example, ladies, if you look straight on an hourglass, guess what? Once again, obviously you're gonna have breast tissue, which you're supposed to have. Do you understand that breast tissue helps convert some of those hormones I was just talking about into its other forms? Ladies, you're going to have, curves in a lower waist. It's expected to have it that way. So that's why when you work them out, you do take away a lot of that fat tissue. Now you do take away from your abs, so it does get skinnier. But by nature, you're supposed to have an hourglass effect. So I want people to understand that if you think of it this way, ladies, I want you to predict this. Do you understand that your fat tissue changes through the month? It's supposed to. Do you know that your body will add tissue to your breasts and butt and actually take it away the next week? Don't believe me? Ladies, you don't know when this happens. Unless you push your body to excessively losing all your fat, your breast tissue will grow 1 week and your bra will be a little more full, and next week it'll be a lot less. And therefore, they fluctuate. You can get very good at telling women when their ovulation or even menstrual cycle is coming just by watching the size of their breast tissue. It's not a joke. I've taught my doctors, both male and female, how to observe that. It's part of a clinical exam, not that we're examining their breasts that way, but you know what I'm saying, just by even observation. And ladies, you know this. Sometimes your breasts look full even on your shirt, and sometimes it's less. So there's got to be an hourglass effect. So the idea is this, just remember, when you look at things going on, women are supposed to have curves and things are going to change through the month. And the majority of change that you see, ladies, is up top and down below. Having rolls on your stomach is not what's supposed to happen. I know. We better not clip that one. That will get me all kicked off of Instagram and YouTube. What we got?
I've got a good one.
Yep.
So, Doc, the women on Instagram would like to know, how should a woman exercise if they're postmenopausal or have had a hysterectomy?
Okay. Now, postmenopausal women have it different than cyclic women. They do, because postmenopausal women have hormones more like a guy. Now, they have to be careful because they still have to maintain a level of progesterone and a level of estrogen And on top of it, women in postmenopausal have to convert more of their estrogens than produce because, once again, the follicles are not producing the hormones it did before because you no longer ovulate in different features there. So what I want you to think of this. I want you to understand that you can exercise a little bit more active, a little bit more high intensity through things. So here's what I'll tell you. If a woman, still did some intensity on a daily basis, as long as you kept your nutritional values up, both women in both areas, you're going to significantly benefit more. So if you are going to work out a lot more than predicted that you should, you need to bring your calorie intake up to compensate for it. That's why when these young ladies that lose their cycle, if they're a swimmer or a runner, they became nutritionally deficient and no joke, fatty acid deficient to where they couldn't maintain some things that they did have. So you can exercise a little bit more intensely because you are a little bit more dominant in testosterone and some of the androgen hormones when you are postmenopausal. Okay.
I have one question here. So
Yes.
her name is Cindy, so she's a no sugar challenge.
No sugar challenge.
But she has a problem with the energy.
Yep.
She was asking, how can I get back energy?
Okay. So if you think of it this way, when you do no sugar challenge, remember, I will tell you this, your body does a wonderful job. I was just listening to a PhD on this the other day because, people are big into ketones and fat burning and some of that. Yeah, there's no doubt it should be because of weight. But what I want you to think of this, people say, I have no energy on no sugar. Yeah, because you're trying to you took those available sugars and dropped it down. You really did. So you are depending on your body right now to convert some of your triglycerides and other things into sugar. Okay, trying to produce gluconeogenesis, trying to take that sugar and trying to take that fat, making it sugar so you can now have energy. So what I would do right now, once again, is I would do something to support your adrenals because your adrenals can compensate for that and also help you regulate your energy a little bit more. So I would take things like licorice. I would actually make sure that you were in bed early enough and stayed there long enough. But those two things, let alone, can actually help. I have great questions coming in here. Dr. Lucas, what do you got?
All right, kind of following up that a little bit. I see you speak about eating organ meats a lot.
Yep.
But what if we just can't do it? Can we be healthy without them?
Can you be healthy without them? Yes. Do I think it's easy to be healthy without them? No. No. Because there's a significant amount of nutrients and high density nutrients. Now, I will do this. I still have some of my nutrition books. Okay, avocados, anything here. Organ meats dominate. They really do. Organ meats dominate. Let me say it again. Organ meats dominate. That's why I'm such a fan of them. When I'm done with my fast 2 weeks from today, I'm going to probably have some liverwurst. Travis will probably bring it up. We'll enjoy some liverwurst. I'll have heart, liver, kidney, and ground beef in it. And it's going to be fantastic because I'm going to put the most nutrient-dense food into our system. So just to understand that as that happens is, I want to make sure that we're going to always make sure that I give you the advice to have things. Now, people say, Doc, I'm a vegan, I just can't eat meat. Then you have to be so specific on your food. You have to be a food ninja just to truly be healthy. You really do. See, that's why when people say, Doc, I'm a vegan, I'm fit, I'm skinny. I'm like, you can be very skinny. Remember, skinny, once again, you do have a little less chance of issues. But if you're nutrient deficient, you're gonna have a lot of issues. So it's just, I don't see it as possible. All right, Doc, what we got next?
Let's see. Doc, some of the ladies on Instagram would like to know what are the best ways that they can try and lower their cortisol?
Cortisol, stress hormone. Start getting rid of all your stressors. If it's your man, get rid of him. Just kidding. No, just kidding. That has come up many a times. So cortisol is produced in response to, once again, all stressors. But it's also in response to blood sugar. It really is. So I want you to monitor your blood sugar, make sure you bring that down. Now, people ask, say, can I take something? Yes, you can take things like California poppy. You can take things like CBD. You can take things like L-theanine. You really can. That will help. That will help. That will only compensate for it being elevated. But cortisol, once again, is there to help you respond to stress. I know it's kind of crazy, but if all of a sudden, I mean, it sounds stupid, if I drop this cup on my foot, my cortisol levels are going to go up in response to the internal stress I created by the inflammatory response. But you got to remember, we got to get rid of those. Now, you're wrong. We need cortisol, especially in the morning, to wake up. That's why by supporting your adrenals, you can get your cortisol levels up, gives you a little bit more energy. And once again, and I want to go to this in detail. I know we're going to, because it's related to questions. People say, Doc, how did you come up with the 8 to 10 hours of sleep for women? Well, it's all about the patriarchy. Now, that was stupid funny, but let me explain why. Because I had like 50 women just, because that video has gotten, no joke, I think with all the platforms, 100 million views, if not more. And I would say, you're just saying that about patriarchy that we're weak. I am not. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to show you just some things based on hormones, where I came up with that. And when I teach it to, and I had medical doctors reach out, I had a professor from Stanford that taught Stanford Medical School said, can you explain how you got your idea of that? Well, let me explain. And let me explain why it's not research, but I can show you the research behind it. Ladies, do me a favor. When you look at something called hormonal reserves, do you understand your hormone in your thyroid is stored? There are certain hormones that are stored and then released. And there's certain that use up through the day that if you don't have enough, you'll run out. So I want you to think about this. The best time to build up your hormonal reserves is get to bed about 9 o'clock. Because from 9 to 1 or 2 o'clock roughly, you build up the greatest hormonal reserves. And they found out that if you go to bed later, so let's say you go to bed at midnight and you still sleep 8 to 10 hours, you can still wake up very deficient and very fatigued. Okay? So how did I determine, once again, but you said, Doc, you're just telling me go to sleep. Now, how did you come up with 8 to 10 hours? Well, here we go. Some basic biochemistry. Speaking of cortisol, we have something called the circadian rhythm. Cortisol and other hormones start to increase. They start about 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why if all of a sudden your hormones jump up too quickly at 3 a.m., you'll be like, and that's why it was called the witching hour. All right? You know, and if you look at this, is because all of a sudden people wake up and say, I don't know why I'm wide awake. Why am I waking up? Because your hormones start to creep its way up. They peak between the times of 6 and 8 o'clock. So let's roughly take it around 6 a.m. just on the early realm. Well, on the early realm, and let's say 7's the midpoint. If you're supposed to have the best hormonal reserves by going to bed at 9, and it starts to peak between 6 and 8, and let's take 6 o'clock. How many hours are between 9 and 6 a.m.? 9 p.m., 6 a.m. 9 hours. 7 is supposed to be the highest, 10 hours. So I even gave a little flexibility and said, women need to sleep 8 to 10 hours. Saying, hey, if you get to bed at 10 and wake up at 6, don't have many hormonal reserves, but you probably got the majority of it. But the ideal is going from 9 or 10 to tell you the truth. But I gave you a little flexibility because a lot of people go to bed at 10. I'm like, at least stay in bed till 6 when the hormonal circadian rhythm is supposed to wake you up. And I started explaining to people like, that makes sense. That's a good opinion. And I shared that opinion because of the 100 million views that we've gotten on the platforms. And women started emailing me and started Facebooking me and started Instagram messaging me and said, holy crap, Doc. I just forced myself to start going to bed at 9 o'clock. And it was dramatic. They even said this. I even found myself getting up a little earlier, but I felt more clear. I had more energy. I said, yes, because all you're doing is using sleep to build up hormone levels that you're supposed to during the night. And sent it off to that Stanford doctor. He's like, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And that's all it was. So I shared an idea just based on observing things. And then what I did is I followed up with testing as I taught all the women to go to bed around the time. And once again, guys, here's what happens. Let me say this. Going to bed at 9 o'clock, ladies, is what? Hard. It's hard. There's no doubt. It's hard. But remember I told you at the beginning, pick your hard. Life is hard. You know what's really hard? Being hormonally deficient in the morning, and it's hard to get you going through the day. And it's hard to stay focused. And it's hard to deal with things. And it's hard to have those hormonal deficiencies. And it's hard to not have clarity. You get to pick your hard. All right. Dr. Lucas, what do we got on the sheet?
So, kind of going back to an exercise question. What if a woman around age 28 recently started exercise and her cycle changes and is way shorter than before?
Yep.
Like 2 days as well as minimal blood flow.
Yep. See what she just did right there? She exercised, she created hormonal deficiencies. Now let me explain. How could you have less menstrual flow? It's quite simple. I want you to think about this. When you start exercising, you can actually deplete some fat tissue and also stress out your adrenals, which does produce some hormone. And you have less estrogens, and therefore the thickness of your uterine lining goes down. It does. It goes down. And therefore you have less blood flow coming out to restore and repair, and it shortens up dramatically. I know women get very frustrated when I say this. Ladies, you want to have your period for roughly 5, if not the best, 6 or 7 days. I want it 5 minimally. But doc, bleeding sucks. Yes, it does. It really does. It's inconvenient. It sucks for you guys. Ladies, do not think I don't think that your life is difficult just by having menstruation. Do you understand the menstrual cycle sucks? Having a period sucks. I sympathize for you. That's why when I get passionate and then people, and it was kind of funny. After my little video went viral and got millions of views this week, it was like, they're like, you are speaking down to women. I'm not speaking down to women. I'm trying to protect you, sometimes from yourself, and sometimes from other women that give you very bad ideas. And if it was a man that gave you bad ideas, I'd try to protect you from that. See, now, what the person can do, when you do have exercise, ladies, you need to make sure that your system is good. You need to support it nutritionally. You really do. Because if you run out of certain things and start depleting certain fat tissues in certain areas, you're going to lose hormones. You're going to. So it's significant. All right, Dr. Lucas, we got time for one more question. So what do we got?
Alrighty, following up with the sleep one. Ever since I've been in menopause, I wake up at 3 a.m. every morning.
Yep. I kind of gave you the answer before. That means your cortisol levels are going up too quickly. Okay? Because if you look at the circadian rhythm, they drop dramatically. They drop dramatically in the later evening, like 8, 9 o'clock. It's funny how our body's supposed to do that. Look at your rhythm. That's why if you notice, that's why a lot of people say, Doc, you don't like when especially women work night shift. I don't like when men work night shift. I don't, because it throws off their whole circadian rhythm. And what happens is it's supposed to drop down and it's supposed to slowly, look, it's a slow cycle up. And if it peaks up too high, because once again, you can't regulate your cortisol, guess what happens? Now, one thing you can do, now I will tell this woman right here, one simple way that you can change that quickly with just a food, have some healthy fat at night. Have some healthy fat. Because what it'll do is help regulate the blood sugar and keep it down, because it means your blood sugar is usually spiking in the middle of the night, and therefore it spikes up to control it, and it wakes you up and keep you wide awake. You can be like this at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, awesome. Well, Dr. Lucas, Dr. Ryan, Dr. Eby, show them on camera. Three of our wonderful interns that are here doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much for today. Guys, thank you for adapting to our technical difficulties. Next week, as I gave some of those ideas that we talked about, and I'll show you some labs of some of these people and show you, and I will go over the cycle. We'll cover the luteal phase. We'll cover the follicular phase. Hopefully by next week. No joke, I ordered a new computer. My team ordered a new computer right away. So it should be here. We'll be able to download. You're taking the thing now, Travis, after here to see if we can recover our stuff out of here. I'm hoping we don't lose it. If you do have any questions, guys, don't forget to DM me on Instagram. Dr. Devin, Dr. Sam, Dr. Kira. We try to, including myself, I'm on there. Guys, if I tell you it's me, message back, it's me. Thank you, Bonita, Sharon, Amy, Ron, Becky, Marcella, Krista, Travis, Sarah, all these people that have already emailed me. I got them right here. I will definitely be responding to you on them. Nice thing is this, guys. I know that we have a big company all over the world. I know that. We get bigger every month. That's why we're having a nice push of people that are going to be working here even more. I know that I have millions of people that follow us and stuff. But guys, not a joke. I take your health and I take your life very seriously. When you send me a question, I wish I could answer every personal one. So I try to. I love when you guys interact with me. I love when you put a comment down below. I try to look at them. I really do. I'm not a person that sits there and goes, oh man, just all this stuff I can't. No, I actually take your health and your life and your suffering and really seriously, because I know it sucks to suffer. I sat across. Remember, don't forget this, guys. I'm still a doc. I still have a passion massively to help you get great ideas and great things so you can live a great, healthy life. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. Once again. So thank you guys. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, media team, for all the things that you constantly do. We appreciate. Thank you to all you guys that are halfway through the No Sugar Challenge. We got 17 more days. Brian and I have 14 more days of no food in general. And once again, it's been great. It's been hard. It's been extremely hard. For all you guys out there that haven't fasted before, join me. Even if you join me for a day, it'll be massively great for your health. Ladies, don't join me on the fast, but the idea is we'll cover a lot of that about next Saturday. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn. Hope you guys have a beautiful day. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single video or live stream. Each week on A Different Perspective, we bring you the most cutting-edge information on health you won't find anywhere else. For more information on this topic, please visit our website. A Different Perspective offers life-changing information and resources to share and explore. A Different Perspective is leading a health revolution.